Yo, Osta, Shahin Yiditla, Diakoda E, Ayasti, Kana Yagi, Agwadoa. Welcome to the Red Road East. I am your host, Fierce Truth Seeker. The Red Road East is an indigenous TV program dedicated to archiving and preserving the history, legacy, and culture of the original peoples east of the Mississippi River and the Caribbean. With that said, we are in part 11 of the series, which is entitled The Empire Strikes Black. Strikes Black. Okay. And this is lecture 2 of that series, part number 11 of part 2 of the series, which is Moors and Indians, Friends or Enemies. Okay, this is part 11 of lecture 2. Okay, and in this discussion, we are also going to cover the topic of Marcus Garvey. And for those who may have just joined the conversation today, you may want to jump out of this live and go back and look at last night's presentation, because I will not be going backwards. Okay, and you'll be kind of lost if you did not see last night's lecture. Okay, so I would urge anyone who did not see last night's lecture to go and do that right now before watching this live. Okay, and before I proceed, I am going to leave a link in the chat for those who want to be generous enough to give a donation. That link is in the chat. It says for donations. That link will carry you directly to where you can leave a donation. Okay, that's the link to the hooked up to the website, the Red Road East's website. Okay, so we're proceeding on, and I'm gonna try my best to keep it at no more than 30 to 45 minutes today. I know I promised that last night and it didn't happen. We almost went into 2 hours, but I'm not going to do that today. I have things to do, and I know other people have things to do. So we're going to get right into it, and let's see who we have in here. Yeah, so I want to acknowledge all those in the chat. Okay, Kiskaya, Incan, Ellie is in the house. All right, Islam. All right, and let's see. We got Don Heath in the house. He says peace. He's clocking out from work. Okay, and we got the Cobra Assassin in the house. He says Islam, peace and love. All right. So we got a few people in the chat. We got, okay, altogether 4 people watching now. Okay, so wait just a couple of minutes for a couple of more people to come in. Okay, and in the meantime, while we're waiting, I'll play music again while we're waiting, and we'll wait about 3 more minutes for others to come in and join. Okay, we'll start soon. Okay, so we'll wait like about another minute and a half for a few more to join in, and we'll get started. Okay, don't go anywhere. It's going to be good. It's going to be very good. Okay, so I'm going to play the music one more time, and after this plays, then we'll start. I'm just trying to give a couple of more minutes for a few more people to join in. Okay, so we've waited long enough, and I'm going to get started with the presentation. Let me see. I'm going to set a time. Where's my timekeeper? There's usually a chick who be in here, and she keeps the time. Lecture started such and such a time. Guests came in at such and such a time. Where's my timekeeper? Where's my timekeeper when I need her? I want to start. I want to make sure I end in a half an hour. Okay. Cobra Assassin. Cobra Assassin says it's time for the filet gumbo. I like that. I like that. You read about that. It's time for the filet gumbo. Oh yeah. So let me see if I can set the time on this broken phone that I have here. Let me see. I'm gonna set it for 30 minutes. Let me see. Stop. Let me see. Let's give you a stopwatch. Okay, yeah. Here it is right here. Oh no, wait, no, that's not it. That's it. Okay, what time is it now? We're gonna we'll try to end it at no later than 1 o'clock. So let me see. Give me 1 second. I'm just setting the time here. 1 p.m. How do I get p.m.? 0 p.m. Okay, this is the old broken phone here. I have a new phone. I don't know how to work it yet. But anyway, I'm going to look at the time. Okay, I'll just look up at the time physically. 1 o'clock. We're going to end it. So, without further ado, now we were talking about how the information that we get today, you can't take information that we have today. Let's say with people talking about this Aboriginal paradigm, you can't take the information and ideologies that you have today and perceptions that you have today and make them retroactive, okay, for during the time of like Garvey and before that time, okay, you can't do that. And when everything has to be put into proper historical perspective, okay. So also, even though I dropped all of that information last night, you still had some people. Well, it was just actually one individual who left a comment. I don't even think they even watched the lecture. They just looked at the title. Was Garvey a government agent? And he leaves a comment. Let me read it. I'm not going to say the person's name, but I will read the comment. Okay, give me 1 second here. And this was last night. Okay, and he says here, wait a minute, let me scroll down. Oh, here we go. It says he was definitely an agent and still got plenty of them today. Okay, so my reply was, where's your proof? You can't make an empty claim and not have any evidence to back it up. Otherwise, you're just being emotional. That's a feminine trait. You know, you're just being emotional. And you then, he responds again and says, surely he was. But again, where's your evidence? I don't want to hear emotionalism. Now, if you honestly have some information that is concrete evidence, let's look at it. Okay, then we can say, okay, yeah, here's your proof. He was. Okay, good. So yeah, he was. But I don't want to hear somebody's emotionalism, because there is, that's just conjecture. If you're in a court of law, that argument isn't going to hold up, brother. Okay, nobody cares about your feelings. It's a matter of source up or shut up. Okay, so, and I don't mean that in the derogatory sense, but that's the saying of the day. Source up or shut up. You know how they say over there with the on the the Afrocentric channels, the Sonettas and all them, source up or shut up. So anyway, I want to share screen, and we're going to continue to bring some historical perspective like we did last night. And I'm going to show the other video clips that I was talking about that I promised to share. Okay, because again, we discussed the fact that before the present day trending Aboriginal movement, you had the Moors. Okay, and everybody knows that the Moors were around talking about being Aboriginal long before there was an Aboriginal movement today, long before, and I hate to call the brother's name, before the Dane Callaways or anybody's name, before the Dane Callaways, before the Carrie Davises, before the Ray Don Amin Raz and these different people. Okay. So anyway, and I proved that. I showed a video last night of a Moorish television program back in 1997, which is when it was aired on television. And I'm going to show one even earlier than that. Okay. And this one is in 1994. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen. Okay. And let's see here. Give me a second. Just pulling this up. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for the video. I think it's this one here. Yes, it is. Okay. So I'm going to play the video. Give me in the oh wait, is it sharing? Can y'all see it? Let me see. Hold on. I think y'all can see it. And I'm gonna play the video. Let me know. Give me how the audio sounds. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. Put a 1 up or a thumbs up.
Had come to the people of Nazareth, of Israel,
Amen.
to the Israelites.
Hold on.
Had come to the people of Arabia. They would not have been able to understand what he was saying. Likewise, if the prophet Confucius had come to the people of Nazareth, of Israel, to the Israelites in the image of the Chinese, though he may have been carrying a profound message, they could not have heard him. They could not have understood him because he would have not been able to relate to the conditions under which they were existing at that time. And that is why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was born here among us in the state of North Carolina, 1886, coming in the image and in the likeness of those who had debased themselves and who had been debased during the time of slavery to the lowest low, had even had their nationality, any knowledge of themselves stripped from them. Now, Noble Drew Ali, he founded the Moorish Science Temple of America in the year 1913 in Newark, New Jersey, and began to teach our people their nationality and their divine creed. That nationality being Moorish American, because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. And of that fact, there can be very little historical dispute, because the people who were brought from Africa and put in slavery here in North America, they were taken from the Moroccan Empire. And so that would make their nationality Moorish. So without doubt, our people are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. In addition to that, so many of our people were already here in America long before the European nations arrived. The reason why nationality is so important.
Okay, so as you see there, they covered all bases. Okay, he talked about those of our people who did come over here via the slave trade, and he also talked about those of us who had always been here, okay, even before the slave trade. Okay, so that is a television program matter of fact, let me stop sharing. Okay, so that was in that lecture was 19 that was actually a television program. That was 1994. Okay, there is no Aboriginal quote unquote community as we know it today. So I'm showing you the roots and origins of this movement that we have today. Okay. And yesterday, when I played the lecture or the television program of the same brother, he talked about the connection with the Native American tribes. Okay. And that philosophy coming from the Moors is what had inspired me to look more deeply into the connections, because the Moors were talking about, you know, the tribes and things of that nature. So I did further research to see what those connections were, and it led me to great discoveries. Okay. But at least I'm honest. And, you know, I tell where, my inspiration came from. Okay. But the there's always been who have individuals who had stated that we were indeed indigenous and things of that nature. And even in our families, you know, elders and stuff like that who had talked about our heritage and stuff like that. What we're talking about here, we're talking about a whole school of thought. Okay, not just a person here and there, saying this and that. Okay, because you got to remember a lot of the history was a lot of the real history was being suppressed, and the elders that had a substantial amount of the real history were killed off. Okay, so and then you had those who just didn't speak at all, didn't say anything about the history, and just played dumb, didn't even tell their children or anything like that. Okay, so now what I want to do is see here, get you some perspective. Now, yesterday we talked about how there were many people before Marcus Garvey who were proponents of a Back to Africa movement. I even showed you American Indian involvement in that. Okay. So, what I want to do now, I want to take a look at some more individuals who brought the Back to Africa movement before Garvey. Okay. And I'm going to share the screen. Share screen. All right. Let's see here. Okay, here's another one. Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. Okay, and you all know the name Turner is a corruption of the indigenous tribe Tunica. Okay, and he was a proponent of the Back to Africa movement. Okay, and he was born in 1834. Okay, so it says here, Black nationalist, repatriationist, and minister Henry M. Turner was 31 years old at the time of the emancipation. Turner was born in 1834 in Newberry Courthouse, South Carolina, to free Black parents, Sarah Greer and Hardy Turner. The self-taught Turner, by the age of 15, worked as a janitor at a law firm in Abbeville, South Carolina. The firm's lawyers noted his abilities and helped with his education. However, Turner was attracted to the church, and after being converted during a Methodist religious revival, decided to become a minister. He joined the African Methodist Episcopal Church and became a licensed minister in 1853 at the age of 19. Wait a minute. Hold on. Uh-oh. Here we have an African Methodist Episcopal Church in 1853. But I thought that none of our people were calling themselves African or anything like that back in those days. Very interesting. Okay. So again, it's a matter of doing thorough research. Okay. And I mean, this really should be common knowledge for anyone who studied the history of our people. Okay. I mean, for me, this is like common knowledge. I'm just pulling up these references since y'all want sources, but this is common knowledge. Well, it should be common knowledge. I mean, for those of you who are younger and or who had come into consciousness just via watching, a few Dane Calloway videos. And again, I'm not throwing shots at Dane Calloway. I'm just using him as reference because he is the face or the most popular that, people who had come into the Aboriginal movement today, most of them came in through that avenue. So it's no shade that I'm throwing at Dane Calloway. I'm just using that name as a reference. So, if Dane Calloway is watching, I am not personally attacking you. I'm just using that reference. Okay. So, those of you who came into consciousness via that avenue, there's a lot of history that you're missing because you didn't come through the schools of thought that those of us from my era came through. Okay. So anyway, let's see here. So someone is leaving in the comment section, says, but consider that the first U.S. Census of 1790, I'm very familiar with the U.S. Census of 1790, started classification of Negro, where many of our families took the label. Actually, that's not 100% true. it didn't start with that. But that's another subject for another time. Anyway, going on, it says here, where did I leave off at? Oh, at the age of 19. Turner soon became an itinerant evangelist, traveling as far as New Orleans, Louisiana. By 1856, he married Eliza Preacher, the daughter of a wealthy African American house builder in Columbia, South Carolina. The couple had 14 children, but only 4 of them survived into adulthood. In 1858, Turner entered Trinity College in Baltimore, Maryland, where he studied Latin, Greek, Hebrew, and theology. 2 years later, he became the pastor of the Union Bethel Church in Washington, D.C. Turner cultivated friendships with important Republican congressional figures, including Ohio Congressman Benjamin Wade, Pennsylvania Congressman Thaddeus Stevens, and Massachusetts Senator Charles Sumner. Turner had already become a national figure when in 1863, at the age of 29, he was appointed by President Lincoln to the position of chaplain in the Union Army. Turner was attached to 1st Regiment U.S. Colored Troops, making him the first African American chaplain in the history of the United States Army. After the Civil War, Turner returned to Georgia and quickly became active in Reconstruction era politics. In 1867, he organized the Republican Party in Georgia, and the following year was elected a delegate to the Georgia State Constitutional Convention. In the same year, he was elected to the Georgia State Legislature. Although 27 African Americans were elected to that body, a coalition of white Democrats and Republicans declared the African American members disqualified and refused to seat them. President Ulysses S. Grant appointed Turner postmaster of Macon, Georgia. He was forced to resign in a few weeks under pressure from local Democrats. Democrats. The U.S. Congress intervened and allowed Turner to reclaim his legislative seat in 1870, but he was not reelected in an election marred by fraud. Turner abandoned politics and moved to Savannah, Georgia, where he served as pastor of St. Philip's AME, again, African Methodist Episcopal Church. In 1876, he was appointed president of Morris Brown College in Atlanta. 4 years later, he was appointed a bishop in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Turner became the first AME bishop to ordain a woman, Sarah Ann Hughes, to the office of deacon. He also wrote The Genius and Theory of Methodist Polity in 1885 as a guide to the policies and practices of the AME Church. Let's see here. Yeah. So let me scroll down. It says by the 1870s, Turner became increasingly disillusioned with the inability of African Americans to achieve social justice in the United States. He proposed emigration back to Africa, an idea much discussed in the antebellum period, by which all but disappeared during the Civil War and Reconstruction. So now he proposed back to Africa before Garvey. okay, before Garvey, okay, and because Garvey was in the 1900s, okay, and this is in the 1800s, okay. So now it also says here that the idea was much discussed. The idea, when I say idea, I mean the idea of back to Africa, okay, that ideology, okay, that ideology of back to Africa was being discussed, they say, much. That's the key word right there. Much discussed, okay, in the antebellum period, okay. And so antebellum, we're talking about before the war, okay. So you have to put everything, again, like I said before, in proper perspective, okay. So, but if it was discussed, if it was much discussed in the antebellum period before the Civil War, okay, what happened to all the people that were supposed to be Aboriginal? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that our people were not Aboriginal, but what I am saying is that our people had been uh, lulled to sleep, okay, in the land of Nod, okay, here in the North Gate, okay. Uh, but you see here the ideology at that time. Well, let me not jump ahead of myself. I'm going to read on and then I'll talk about that, because that I want to talk about that separately, okay. And so it says here, by 1880, Turner had become one of the leading advocates of immigration, particularly to Liberia. He founded two newspapers, The Voice of Missions in 1893 to 1900, and The Voice of the People from 1901 to 1904, to promote immigration. Between 1895 and 1896, Turner organized two ship voyages to Liberia, which carried over 500 immigrants to Liberia. Many of them returned disillusioned and were, many of them returned disillusioned and thus undermined Turner's immigrationist work. Independently, independently of his immigrationist efforts, Turner also promoted the AME Church abroad. Between 1891 and 1898, he traveled to Africa, which is something that Marcus Garvey didn't get a chance to do. Okay. He traveled to Africa 4 times to promote the church in West and South Africa. He also sent AME missionaries to Cuba and Mexico. Although he never completely relinquished the emigrationist ideas and remained in touch with numerous African leaders, Turner increasingly devoted the remainder of his life to church work. He died on May 8th, 1915, in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, while traveling on AME church business. Okay, let me stop sharing. Stop sharing that page. Okay, and for those who just joined, peace to you all. And I'm gonna leave the link in the chat for those who are generously enough to leave a donation. I know there's some new people who just joined in. Give me 1 second. Let me drop that link. It's in there. It's in the chat already, but I'm gonna make it convenient so you don't have to scroll up. Let's see here. Okay, there it is there. All right. So that is Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. Okay, another proponent of the Back to Africa movement before Marcus Garvey. Okay, so again, at this time, see what here's one thing you got to put into perspective is the fact that during this time period of our people, many of our people were see many of our people were Judeo-Christian minded. Okay, they gave us the indoctrination of the Bible, so a lot of the consciousness at that time was revolved around biblical concepts. Okay, also you have to remember too, our people were brainwashed with the idea of the curse of Ham. Okay, and our people were told that we were cursed to be quote unquote black, which is this is we know this is not black, but this is what they were saying: we're cursed to be black because the Most High cursed Ham. Okay, for looking at his father's nakedness when he was drunk. Okay, and our people believe that. Okay, so the mentality at that time was that, among our people, yeah, we are the children of Ham. We came from Africa, you know, and we were cursed. And if there's anyone old enough, I'm not going to say my age. Okay, again, I know the fierce truth seeker looks, really young. Okay, but the fierce truth seeker is a lot older than he looks. Okay, is handsome and is gorgeous and youthful as he looks. Okay, but if there's anyone who's old enough in the chat, you will know that a lot of our people during a certain time frame, let's say going back like 40 years ago and beyond, you'll know that a lot of our people actually believed the Ham story. Okay, if y'all are of a certain age who are listening in here. Okay, and I've had several conversations with people of that generation when I was growing up. Okay, and they believed that Ham story. They believed that we were cursed. I've had several conversations with elders who would say, yeah, we were cursed to be black. Okay, I even in my old job, I I ran into one of my coworkers, and he was a Freemason. Okay, and he was, not that all Freemasons believe this, but you have different Freemasons. You have the what they call the clandestine Freemasons who are not officially recognized. Then you have those who are recognized who are not clandestine. They don't believe that, but most I've heard it from the clandestine Masons. But we were talking one day, and he said, "Yeah, man, yeah, we got to get rid of the curse." I said, "Curse?" And he said, "Yeah, that's why people are all messed up, because God cursed us to be black." You know, I'm looking at this Negro. I'm like, "Are you serious?" Let me not call him a Negro, man. He's a cool brother, but it's that old Negro mentality. You know, that's that old nigger mentality. You know, but yeah, our people believe that. So, being that our people were Judeo-Christian minded, okay, and believed passages in the Bible like slaves, obey your masters. Okay, I've even had elders back in the days say that, you know, well, you got to remember slavery was okay because the Bible says, slaves obey your masters. I got a serious problem with that. Matter of fact, the fierce truth seeker was thrown out of the church. Just to give you a little background about the fierce truth seeker. The fierce truth seeker was thrown out of the church as a teenager. The old Negro preacher tried to tell me that we were cursed to be black. Again, I know we're not black, blah blah blah, but these are not my words. Yeah, the Negro told me, the old nigger preacher told me, he said, yeah, man, because I was questioning all this Bible stuff. I'm like, yo, listen, man, I'm studying ancient Kemet, you know, I'm studying, at that time, here's, my, I'm I'm a young college student. Okay. I'm young. I'm angry. Okay. I'm coming into consciousness. I bought the book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Yeah, I'm listening to Dr. Ben. I'm listening to Dr. Clark. I'm listening to Malcolm. You know, you know, I'm like ready to just to go to blows with my foes. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling the preacher, I'm like, yo, man, look here, man. I have a problem with this stuff that you're teaching. You know, and I said, I got problems with this, King James version of the Bible. There's many versions of the Bible, which, we using the King James, but there's other versions, blah, blah, blah. I'm kicking this stuff in. And then the Negro says, King James King James was ordained by God. Okay. So we don't question the word of God. He said it just like that. Okay. you know. And I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm looking at this stuff that you're preaching, okay, and I'm finding contradictory stuff right here. Okay, you preaching this, I'm like, hey, look here, look at this scripture here. This contradicts what you're saying, bro. you know. And he's like, yeah, I can see that lying demon all in you. Yeah, you studying Egypt and you studying all this stuff and, you questioning the word of God. I could just see that lying demon all in you. Okay, now you could believe what the Bible is saying, or you can get up and you can get out of here. And I said, hey, you know, I know you're passionate about what you're saying and all that, but what I'm telling you is that, what you're saying don't make sense. Okay. And hey, I'm talking to different people, listening to different scholars, studying Black history, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, son, God cursed us to be black. I'm looking at this nigga. I say, yo, man. I said, I have a problem with all this stuff. He said, well, he said, then, he said, well, and I pointed a couple of other scriptures out to him, and he broke down and he admitted, he said, well, I can't stop teaching this stuff. Pretty much you're saying this is my bread and my butter. But then he caught himself, he shook, he caught himself about to go there, and he said, but this is the word of God, and you can either believe every word of it, or you can get up and you can get out of here. And I got up and I got out of there, because at that point, I was through. You know what I'm saying? And I was reflecting on, I was listening to Brand Nubian at that time, and then, when Grand Pooba opened up, he's talking about, the preacher got his mother putting money in the pan, and, they're like, wake up. So I woke up. I was out of there. I was through with that ever since. But anyway, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but my main point here is that our people at that time were heavily influenced by the Bible, and a lot of this African-centered mindedness has its roots in the indoctrination that came from being forced to adopt Christianity. Okay? And you're going to see how all of this ties in. And I'm over my time right now. And, oh, man. I really want to go in. I got a lot more to share. But what I'm going to have to do is cut it now, because I do have a class that I have to attend a little bit later this evening, and I've got to prepare for that class. I guess, you know what? Let's go 10 more minutes. Let's go 10 more minutes. I'll go 10 more minutes. I do have more that I want to share with y'all. Okay? I didn't mean for this Garvey thing to go this long. But anyway. All right. So I want to look at another individual. Okay? And I'm going to share the screen. This is another proponent of the Garvey movement. I'm sorry, the Garvey, I'm bugging. This is another proponent of the Back to Africa movement before Marcus Garvey. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share the screen. Let me see here. Let me see here. Let me pull this up. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for the article. Okay, it's not here. It must be in my email. Cancel that. Let me look in the email. Okay, let's see. Scroll up. Bear with me. I'm just looking for the article because, a lot of people like to. Oh, Dan, thanks for the support, bro. Thanks for the donation. Much appreciated. I'm gonna keep you in my affirmations. you and your family, for your health, your prosperity, and all that. Let's see here. Is it here? Oh, okay. I think it's in this one. See, I like to show documents. I don't like to just talk. I like to give evidence of what I'm saying because anybody can just get up here and talk. Like the brother who was leaving comments last night. Okay, all the stuff that he was saying. Oh, Garvey was an agent. Garvey was definitely an agent. It sounds cute, but prove it. I mean, if you can prove it, let's then I'll believe you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a hero worshiper. I don't care anything about a personality. Okay, I'm not stuck on any personality. All right. So if you can prove he was an agent, then okay, I'll rock with you. But I I'm not gonna go just based on your personal feelings. Okay, show some proof, show some evidence, show me a document that says Marcus Garvey was employed as an agent, okay, and working for the Alphabet Boys. Okay, show me some documentation. You can't just have an opinion and say, oh, this is definite proof. Okay. Let's see here. Is it here? Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look on, I know I have it on the big screen, and I might have to just read it. Actually, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send it to my email. Don't go anywhere. I'm sending it to my email now. Because I want y'all to be, because I could be making this stuff up, you know, and you need to, I would be doing an injustice if I didn't. Oh, here it is. Here. Okay. Oh, I didn't send it. That's why. Wait a minute. Let me see. That's why. Give me 1 second. The computer is buffering. It's anyway. While that's buffering, I'll just give you some convo. So, in the meantime, the next person that I'm going to bring up is a gentleman by the name of Edward Blyden. Okay. And Blyden was a brother from the Caribbean. Okay. Some refer to Blyden as the father of the black consciousness, things of that nature. Oh, I think okay, it's ready to be sent now. Sent now. Let's see here. Send. Okay, let me see if I got it. Hold on. Oh, 1 second. This is my wife. Hey, sweetie, how you doing? Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm doing a live. Is everything all right? It's okay. No, it's okay. Everything good. Okay. Love you too. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. That was, wifey just calling. Okay. So let me see. Why didn't this come in? Okay. Give me 1 second. Little technical issue here. Let me see. Drafts. Let me look in drafts. Ah, here we go. Okay. Send. And I think we got it now. Yep. Okay. Pull this up. Pull up Blyden. Bong. All right. Okay. Now let me share the screen. I thank you all for patiently waiting. Okay, Blyden. Share. Okay, there we go. Oh, man. Okay, so here we are here. So now this is an article on Blyden. Okay, and let me scroll up a little bit. Edward Wilmot Blyden. By the way, I met his granddaughter, Blyden's granddaughter. Okay, and I did get her contact information years ago. I'm gonna see if I can get her on the show. See if I could find her information. Okay, so Blyden, birth date August 3rd, 1832. Okay, born in St. Thomas in the Caribbean. Okay, nationality Liberian. Statesman, educator. Edward Wilmot Blyden was a Liberian educator and statesman. More than any other figure, he laid the foundation of West African nationalism and of of West African nationalism and of Pan-Africanism. Edward Blyden was born in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. We just read that, of free, literate parents. A precious a precocious youth. You gotta pardon me, my eyes. You know the script here is very small. A precocious youth, he early decided to become a clergyman. He went to the United States in May 1850 and sought to enter a theological college, but was turned down because of his race. In January 1851, he emigrated to Liberia, a African American colony which had become independent as a republic in 1847. He continued his formal education at Alexander High School, Monrovia, whose principal he was appointed in 1858. In 1862, he was appointed professor of classics at the newly opened Liberia College, a position held until 1871. Although Blyden was self-taught beyond high school, he became an able and versatile linguist, classicist, theologian, historian, and sociologist. From 1864 to 1866, in addition to his professional duties, Blyden acted as a Secretary of State of Liberia. From 1871 to 1873, Blyden lived in Freetown, Sierra Leone. There he edited Negro, the first explicitly Pan-African journal in West Africa. He also led two important expeditions to Fouta de Jalan. I think that's how I'm struggling to see those letters there. It looks like what it says here. In the interior. Fauta Dlan in the interior. Between 1874 and 1885, Blyden was again based in Liberia, holding various high academic and governmental status. I'm sorry, governmental offices. In 1885, he was an successful candidate for the Liberian presidency. After 1885, Blyden divided his time between Liberia and the British colonies of Sierra Leone and Lagos. He served Liberia again in the capacities of ambassador to Britain and France and as a professor and later president of Liberia College. In 1891 and 1894, he spent several months in Lagos and worked there in 1896 to 1897 as government agent for Native Affairs. While in Lagos, he wrote regularly for the Lagos Weekly Record, one of the earliest propagators of Nigerian and West African nationalism. In Freetown, Blyden helped to edit the Sierra Leone News, which he had assisted in founding in 1884 to serve the interest of West Africa and the race generally. He also had helped found and edit the Freetown West African Reporter in 1874 to 1882, whose declared aim was to forge a bond of unity among English speaking West Africans. Between 1901 and 1906, Blyden was director of Muslim education. He taught English and Western subjects to Muslim youths, which the object of building a bridge of communication between the Muslim and Christian communities. He died in Freetown on February 7th, 1912. Writings, Ideas, and Hopes. Although Blyden held many important positions, it is more as a man of ideas than as a man of action that he is historically significant. He saw himself as a champion and defender of his race, and in this role, produced more than 2 dozen pamphlets and books, and most important, I'm sorry, and books, the most important of which are A Voice from Bleeding Africa, 1856, Liberia Offering, 1862, The Negro in Ancient History, 1869, The West African University, 1872, From West Africa to Palestine, 1873, Christianity, Islam, and the Negro Race, 1887. His major work, The Jewish Question, 1898. West Africa Before Europe, 1905. And Africa, Life and Customs, 1908. His writings displayed controversy with the main current of ideas as well as originally, and he was often controversial. Blyden sought to prove that Africa and Africans have a worthy history and culture. He rejected the prevailing notion of the inferiority of the black man, but accepted the view that each major race has a special contribution to make to world civilization. He argued that Christianity has had a demoralizing effect on blacks, while Islam had a unifying and elevating influence. Okay. I want to also throw in there that some people even say that Blyden had an effect on the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and inspired Noble Drew Ali. I can't say yay or nay, but that is what it's said that he had. And when you study the teachings the writings, should I say, of Blyden, you can definitely see a lot of similarities in what Blyden was saying and what later on Prophet Noble Drew Ali was talking about. Okay. And again, we're talking about this is a time before both Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey. Okay. Anyway, so it says here Blyden's political goals were the establishment of a major modern West African state, which would protect and promote the interests of peoples of African descent everywhere. He initially saw Liberia as the nucleus of such a state and sought to extend its influence and jurisdiction by encouraging selective repatriation from the Americas. He hoped also in vain that Liberia and adjacent Sierra Leone would unite as one nation. He was ambivalent about the establishment of European colonial rule. He thought that it would eventually result in modern independent nations in tropical Africa, but was concerned about its damaging psychological impact. As a cultural nationalist, he pointed out that modernization was not incompatible with respect for African customs and institutions. He favored African names and dress and championed the establishment of educational and cultural institutions specifically designated to meet African needs and circumstances. Okay, so that is just an introduction to Blyden and his uh, writings and bio. Okay, it's more extensive, but that's it in a nutshell. Okay, now again, remember at this time, this was the school of thought among our people. So when I hear individuals stating that Garvey was an agent because he was talking about sending aboriginals to Africa and things of that nature, again, that was not the ideology at that time among our people. Okay. Again, there were always individuals here and there. Okay. But we're talking about as a collective body of knowledge. Most of our people's consciousness was centered around biblical history, okay, centered around uh, origins of humanity over in the East, okay. All this other stuff that we're talking about today is today when we have more information. Okay, it's easy to talk about, oh, well, they're talking about, Africa and this, that, and the other. Okay, well, you always have 2020 vision, you know, in the present. You know what I'm saying? But you can't take modern concepts and make them retroactive. See what I'm saying? So now, another thing, let me take a look at something here. So now, actually, no. I'm not even going to do that. I was going to play the next video, but I'm not going to have time to do that. because we're way too over time. And we've gone to, it's like it is 1:31 now, and I did promise that we would cut it at 45 minutes, at half an hour to 45 minutes. So we're going to have to break this up, and we're going to have to come back and do this again, because I don't want to rush the information and do a disservice. Okay. So let's see, when will we do the next one? Probably won't be tomorrow. Let's see. Um, I really want to keep going. I really want to keep going. I really want to keep going. You know, I'm on a roll right now. I really don't want to end this. I want to keep going, but I just can't. Otherwise, the whole day will be gone by, and I will not have accomplished anything. But what I will do, I will pay respects to, I will highlight those who join in. Let's see here who we got in here. Okay, we already shouted out Cobra Assassin, Dan Heath. And we also did shout out, well, I didn't shout out, but I did comment on Sienna Dean 8. Okay, thank you for joining in. Okay. Yes, for sure. The census, I'm very familiar with the census of 1790, but the classification didn't start there. Thank you for joining in. Let's see who else we got. Oh yeah. Hey, Miss Moorish Ill. Hey, Islam. What's up, cuz? All right. And let's see who else we have here. Here we have We Always Been Here. Was this after the emancipation? Because that's when a lot of Africans came to America. Well, actually, there were Africans coming to America even before that, but that's another topic for another time. What I'll do is we'll discuss that, because that is another discussion that I will be doing. I don't want to spoil that, but I will keep your comment on the reserve, and I don't want to jump ahead, because that will be discussed in depth in a future lecture. Okay, and let's see who else we got here. Dan Heath says, as soon as you said that cursed by Ham, the way I'm programmed, I thought the word / tone carried a vibration low as hell. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Cobra Assassin says, gratitude, chef, fierce truth seeker, for this filet gumbo plate. Yeah, the filet gumbo. That chef cooking up that plate. Yeah. But I'm not putting this information out to discredit anyone's research. I'm just adding to the conversation. Okay, adding to the conversation. We're building. Okay, we're building, and I'm arming you with information so that you will be properly prepared academically. Okay, so that when you come across certain other people who are more learned, and when you're in like an official academic setting, you know, people won't discredit you, clown you, and things of that nature. You want proper information, you know, and you know, you have to have deep study from many perspectives, and also a proper historical perspective. Okay, so on that note, we're gonna sign off, and I will announce in the community section when we will do the next presentation, or part 12 of this lecture. Okay, so until the next time, do da da, go hunt e.